student, Ben, talking to two other students and his tutor in a tutorial. First, look at questions 1 to 7. Now listen and complete the notes by filling in the numbered spaces 1 to 3 and labelling the diagram 4 to 7.
Oh, OK, come on in. Hi, Ben.
Hi.
Hello, Mark, Sally. Now, let's get going, shall we? Because we've got a lot of ground to cover this afternoon. It's Ben's turn to give his tutorial paper today. But remember, we do encourage questions from the rest of you, so do try to join in and ask questions.
OK.
Now, I believe Ben's going to talk to us today about the exploration of the Red Planet.
That's right. I'm going to be looking at the recent landing by the Americans of a spacecraft on the planet Mars, and in particular focusing on the small rover robot.
Is that the little robot that functions as a geologist?
Yes, that's right. It's called a rover, like a Land Rover, I suppose, and it can detect the geological composition of the ground it's standing on, so, yes, it's a sort of geologist. It's actually quite amazing.
I heard it described as being like a microwave oven on wheels.
Yeah. Well, from an appearance point of view, that's a fair description. I've photocopied a picture of it for you so that you can keep this for reference and make some notes, and I'll just hand that out now.
Oh, thanks.
Thanks. Wow. You'd actually expect it to look more space-age than this, wouldn't you? Like, more sophisticated?
OK, well, as you can see, it's quite small. It actually only weighs 16.5 kilograms.
Right. And what kind of speed is it capable of, Ben?
Well, I suppose that depends on the terrain. But I understand that it has a top speed of 2.4 kilometres an hour, which isn't very fast, really.
And can you tell us how it works? Explain some of these things we can see here.
Well, first of all, on the top it's fitted with solar panels. It runs on solar energy, of course.
Does that mean it can't work at night?
Yes, indeed it does. I guess it sleeps at night. So, you have the solar panels on the top, and underneath, this is the part known as the warm box.
What's the purpose of that?
Well, at night, the temperatures on Mars can go below 100 degrees, so the warm box is designed to protect the electronics from the extreme cold. It's also fitted with 2 cameras on the front.
OK. And what about its wheels?
It's got 6 aluminium wheels, each 13 centimetres in diameter. Each one has its own motor, so it's individually powered, which allows the vehicle to turn on the spot if necessary. And, as you know, aluminium is very light.
Now look at questions 8 to 10. Listen to the end of the conversation and complete the notes by filling in numbered spaces 8 to 10.
And how is it steered?
Good question. It's steered using virtual reality goggles, worn by someone back on Earth, believe it or not. Though, because the robot can't be manipulated in real time, it can't be steered in real time either.
What do you mean exactly?
Well, you see, it takes more than 11 minutes for a radio signal to travel from command headquarters in California to Mars, and another 11 minutes for the answer to come back.
You mean there's a time delay?
Yes, exactly. And the time delay, or time lag, means it can't be steered directly from Earth. So what they do is this. They photograph the area around the rover, and the scientists will decide where they want the rover to go.
In other words, they'll plot a course for the rover.
Exactly.
OK, Ben, that's very interesting. Now, can you tell us anything about this space mission itself, and why Mars?
Well, people have been fascinated by Mars for a long time, and it's generally believed that Mars is the only other planet in the solar system to have abundant water.
Is it possible that people might one day be able to live on Mars?
Well, of course, there's a lot of work to be done yet, but theoretically, I can't see why not.
Thanks, Ben. That was very interesting.
Now turn to section 2. Track 32. Practice test. Listening, section 2. You will hear someone talking about a wildlife park. Before you listen, you have some time to look at questions 11 to 15. Now listen carefully and answer questions 11 to 15.
Good morning, everyone. I'm a keeper here at Arana Wildlife Park, and that means that my job is to look after some of the animals that we have here. First, let me tell you a bit about us. The word Arana means welcome in the local Māori language, and we are very pleased to see you all here. As you probably know, we're run by a charity, and we specialise in endangered species of animals, birds and reptiles. The park grounds cover 80 hectares of land, and we have 400 animals altogether from 70 different species. So that you can see the animals in their natural environment, we've built streams and banks to separate you from the animals and make sure your trip around the park is safe. Our animals come mainly from here, New Zealand, and from Australia, Africa and South America. There are a lot of animals to see and quite a number of things you can do here, so let me tell you about a few of the exciting encounters before you decide where to go. One of our most popular animals is a type of giraffe called a Rothschild. It's easy to spot. It has 3 horns rather than the usual 2. Giraffes are amazing animals close up, and you have an opportunity to hand feed them here at the park at 12 noon or 3 in the afternoon. This is one of the most popular activities and will be one that you'll never forget. In fact, we believe hands-on education is very important, so you can touch or pat a variety of friendly animals, such as cows and goats, at the farmyard. This experience goes on all day and is designed to help children take an interest in animals and their environment. I can assure you it's not at all dangerous. Another exciting activity for visitors is watching some of our big cats reach speeds of up to 70 kilometres per hour during their exercise run. The cheetah is the fastest land mammal, and this event takes place at 3:40 every day. You can watch them go down their paddock in under 30 seconds.
Before you hear the rest of the talk, you have some time to look at questions 16 to 20. Now listen and answer questions 16 to 20.
So, here's a plan of the park. As you can see, we're here at the main entrance, and there's an information centre to your right. Now, it's quite easy to get around the park. We have daily guided walkabout tours, which let you get up close to the animals. Or, if you prefer to be at a distance, you can take the safari bus and drive around with a wildlife expert. If you decide to take the walkabout tour, it leaves at 10:45, that's in just under an hour, from the meerkats enclosure next to us. From there, the walk passes the adventure playground and the otters in the first enclosure, and then arrives at the New Zealand birds area in the next enclosure just in time to see them being fed. Then you go on to the reptile house and the tigers and the rest of the animals. Alternatively, you can wait until the afternoon walk. There are plenty of other things to see in the morning. One of these is the African village. Just turn to your right from the main entrance, walk past the first bus stop, and it's just before the African wild dogs enclosure. It's a wonderful, colourful experience. You can also go to the shop and buy your souvenirs there. We have beautiful soft toys, giraffe and zebra, for children, and a whole range of t-shirts, hats and skincare products with an African theme. After that, why not have lunch in the picnic area on the far eastern side of the park? I'd recommend this because while you're eating, you might catch sight of the ostriches on one side of you or buffalo on the other. For the afternoon walkabout tour, you'll need to find your own way to the African lion habitat, which is on the west side of the park, just past the conservation centre. To join the tour, you actually go past the lion habitat. You'll see 2 bus stops, keep walking, and the meeting place is about half a kilometre after the second one. If you've gone past the zebra, you've gone too far. For those of you who would prefer to travel on the safari bus, this runs from 10:30 to 4 p.m. There are stations throughout the park, but the first one is at Jomo's Cafe, which is directly opposite where we're standing. Go straight ahead and it's just in front of the giraffes. There are various feeding times for the animals and the bus stops in time for all of these. So, let me just give you some safety guidelines.
That is the end of section 2. You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Now turn to section 4 on page 8. Section 3. You will hear a conversation between a university student and a faculty advisor about the requirements for the student teaching semester. First, you have some time to look at questions 21 to 24 on page 46. As you listen to the first part of the conversation, answer questions 21 to 24. I'd like to go over with you today some of the requirements for your student teaching, which you'll be undertaking next semester.
I'm really looking forward to working in a real classroom and teaching children, but I'm nervous about it too.
One of my roles is to provide you with whatever support you may require. One thing that helps me do that is to know what you're doing in the classroom, so I require all my students to keep a journal about their teaching experience.
That sounds like a lot of work. Will I have to write in it every day?
Yes, if you can. You'll give it to me at the end of each week. Another thing I'll want from you is a few sample lesson plans. I'll let you know ahead of time exactly how I want you to do them.
Several of us from the university will be student teaching at the same school. Are we supposed to get together regularly to discuss our work?
I'll meet with each student teacher individually, but you aren't required to meet with each other. Of course, you can talk together as much as you want. You will, however, have to observe some of the other teachers in the school, besides the teacher you'll be working with.
Then will I get an evaluation from my supervising teacher at the end of the semester?
Actually, no. I'll do your evaluation, and I'll base it on several things. One is your required portfolio, which should contain samples of your class activities and your students' work. Another important thing is your term paper.
Then there won't be a final exam?
No, we don't feel that's necessary for student teaching. Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you have some time to look at questions 25 to 30 on page 46. Now listen and answer questions 25 to 30.
I know I have to get an agreement form signed. Since you're my advisor, are you the one to do that?
No, that form is for your supervising teacher to sign, to document that he or she agrees to have you in the classroom as a student teacher.
Oh, I see. I'm concerned about the term paper I'll have to do and the evaluation process. I'm not sure I understand what I'm supposed to do.
Regarding the term paper, the first thing is to choose a topic. It should be related to your teaching work. You should let me know your term paper topic by the end of the first week of the semester.
Will you be observing me regularly in the classroom?
Yes, and during the fourth week of the semester, we'll have our first evaluation meeting to discuss my observations.
One thing I'm really looking forward to is the student-teacher conference that the university puts on every year.
I'm glad you're looking forward to it. Of course, everyone in the program is required to attend. The conference takes place, let me check. Yes, the 7th week of the semester.
When will I have to turn in my term paper?
The term paper is due by the end of the 14th week of the semester. Then during the 15th and final week, we'll get together one last time for a semester review.
Wow, it looks like I have a busy semester ahead of me.
That is the end of section 3. You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Now turn to section 4. Track 34. Practice test. Listening, section 4. You will hear a lecture about airport design. First, you have some time to look at questions 31 to 40. Now listen carefully and answer questions 31 to 40.
Good morning, everyone. Well, last week we looked at some of the architectural features of modern house design, And today we're going to move on to look at airport design and how this has changed over the years. So if we start by going back to the 1960s and 70s, when there were a lot fewer airports than there are today, well, check-in desks, customs and waiting areas were all very basic. They were rather like a bus station, designed to allow air traffic in and out of the terminal, but not very welcoming for passengers. Even though passengers spent a lot of time there, the important features were related to the flights, rather than the people who took them, or indeed the places where the airports were built. But that all changed in the next few decades. And if you look at any big airport now, it's more like a mini-city. It combines a transport centre with a mall full of shops and facilities designed to make passengers feel more comfortable. So airports have been transformed. And as with any city building, their design now takes into account features outside the airport terminal as well. So why did this change happen? Well, there are two main reasons. The first was the huge increase in passenger numbers, in the number of people travelling by plane. And this was a direct result of mass tourism, with things like cheap holiday packages and low-cost airlines, with the construction of high-rise hotels and hotel complexes. And then people started travelling more regularly from one country to another for things like meetings, and so the growth in international business also pushed numbers up. In fact, passenger growth has been so significant over the past 30 years that it's estimated that some 21st century airports will need to handle up to 50 million passengers a year by 2020. The second reason for the change is, and this is a key aspect of airport design, people have realised that the airport is the first place you see when you visit another country. This means it forms your first impression of that country, and that impression has to be good. Airports are now called gateways to the cities they serve, and that raises visitor expectations. Now, what are the changes that have taken place in airport design? Well, the interior design, the inside of most airports, is now completely different. First, the dark, enclosed airports of the past have been replaced by large, open areas that look out onto the surroundings. Look at this picture of Beijing Airport. There's a huge amount of space and light, and this is typical of many airports today. Second, well, in the past, you had to go outside the airport to get trains to terminals, but now these are integrated into the design. Also, airport walkways are wide and can cope with the large volume of people. People who want to feel calm and relaxed, who want to get around the airport easily. In this way, the stress of modern travel has been minimised. Outside, the buildings have changed too. Airports were once ugly buildings with large towers and concrete boxes around them. Now they're designed to fit into their surroundings. Look at this picture of the Arctic Circle Airport in Norway. The airport itself is surrounded by mountains. So, as you can see, the roof of the airport has been designed so that it's shaped like a range of mountains. There are peaks at the top and then steep sides that touch the ground. In the same way, these airports in Thailand and India have beautiful shaded gardens all around them that reflect the landscape of the country. They also provide a connection with local tradition and art. Another feature that is important inside airports too. And there's one final but very important issue. It's been said that airports are a new building type. They're often light steel structures with what looks to the passenger like a lot of glass. But this is special glass that can maximise daylight and comfort and cut down on energy use. Bangkok's main airport is flooded with controlled daylight in a tropical climate. And this is achieved through the use of new materials and modern technology, which have also allowed engineers to come up with methods of reducing costs. So, let's take a closer look at some of these.
That is the end of section 4.